Written in 1961 by Canadian singer-songwriter Bonnie Dobson, Morning Dew is set against a post-apocalyptic landscape and takes form of a conversation between the last man and last woman on Earth, realizing that there was nothing left. And to think this was the first song Dobson had ever written. The Dead began playing Morning Dew in 1967, and the song transformed significantly over the years. Early versions were played at a faster pace, but by the early 70s evolved into a mournful dirge and featured Garcia's heartfelt vocals and soulful guitar playing. These early 70s versions featured wonderful playing from the entire ensemble, especially Bob Weir. In this video, we take a look at Jerry Garcia's guitar solo on the Europe 72 version, which comes from May 26, 1972, at the Strand Lyceum in London. Before the guitar solo, there's an instrumental interlude, which sounds like this. Alright, so Morning Dew is in the key of D mixolydian, although there is some modal interchange in there, but we'll address that when we get to it. The majority of the song centers around the tonality of D mixolydian. The notes of the D mixolydian mode are D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, and D. Alright, so the instrumental interlude has Jerry walking up the D mixolydian mode, but omitting the 6th degree, or the B. So we have D, E, F sharp, G, A. Then we play C, A, C, C sharp, D. Then we repeat an octave higher, so after we have the D, then we have E, F sharp, G, A, C, C sharp, D. But Jerry takes this last part and uses that as the pickup to the guitar solo. And instead of just walking up C, C sharp, D, he bends that C sharp up a half step into the D. So that sounds like this. Alright, so this next phrase, without actually seeing how Jerry's playing this solo, I can only make some educated guesses on what I'm hearing. And to me, this part, I hear this. Alright, so why we have the C sharp bent up a half step, or the 14th fret on the 2nd string bent up a half step, take off our middle finger and keep the index finger on the 13th fret bent up a half step, so you're playing actually C sharp but bent. Put the middle finger back on, release, and pull off. So essentially that's the same thing as playing, releasing that 14th fret, playing it, bending back up, releasing and pulling off. But it's a subtle nuance. And the other thing is bending with the index finger. If this is something you're new to, just, take it easy, build up strength, but don't hurt yourself, because normally when we bend, we like to have other fingers support the bend. And then we have this phrase. Alright, so we're bending the 15th fret of the 2nd string up a whole step, grabbing the 15th fret on the 1st string, bending the 15th fret on the 2nd string, releasing 13th fret on the 2nd. Then we bend the 15th fret on the first string up a whole step. Release, 15th fret again, and then the 13th fret of the first string, and we bend that up a half step to the F sharp. So I think it's helpful to visualize a D7 arpeggio with the added 4th degree. So we have our D, F sharp, G, A, C, D, F sharp, G, A. So these phrases are based around that shape. So we have but instead of just playing the 14th fret or F sharp, we're going to bend from the 13th fret, so that F or flat third up to the major third. Alright, so for this next phrase, we move to the D major blues scale. So we have the D major pentatonic scale with the added flat third. And we start off with this phrase. Then we play, so the 10th fret of the first string, D, to the 13th fret of the second string, C. So you can see the D minor pentatonic scale right there, or blues. Alright, then we're playing the 14th fret of the third string, but we're going to pre-bend it half a step, bend it another half a step, so it's about a full step, but it's just a pinch more than a full step. Release it, 12, 14 on the third, pre-bend the 14th fret a whole step, release, then we have the 12th fret of the third string, up a quarter step, release, up a full step. Alright, so again, this is one of those where I can't see how Jerry's playing it. I assume what he's doing is he's going to bend that 12th fret of the third string up a whole step. But again, with your index finger, you want to be careful. And, you know, that's a B.B. King bend, bending the with your index finger up a whole step. For me, you know, I really don't have that strength or control. So I want to use my third finger. So I kind of modify it. And after I play, I move down to the 12th fret, bend it up just a quarter step, release, then up a full step. Then we slide it up to the 14th fret of the third string. Then we have 15 on the second string, 14 up a half step. So in the early 70s, you know, Jerry would bend a lot, very expressive bends, but he would also do a lot of half step bends. So we're bending a half step below the D into the D. Release that. Then we do the same thing on the first string, but with the 17th and 16th fret. So first we play the 17th fret, and then we're playing that 16th fret bent up a half step. Release that, 15, 14, then 15, 14, 13, pull off. And then we play that 13th fret again. Alright, so now the F chord. So Morning Dew is in the key of D Mixolydian, but as I mentioned, we have a brief departure from the Mixolydian mode, and we're borrowing chords from a parallel minor. In this case, from D Dorian. And this is called modal interchange or modal mixture. I did talk about it in the Simple Twist of Fate video, so you can check that out. So this F chord is not found in D Mixolydian, but it is found in D Dorian. So we have F, C, E minor, back to D. Alright, so the C and E minor chords are found both in D Mixolydian and D Dorian. So you could go to Dorian just for this one F chord, but if you listen to what Jerry plays, he carries Dorian out through the C and E minor, and then resolves back to Mixolydian when he gets to the D major chord. And we have this phrase. So we target that F, the root of the F chord. Alright, so this is a cool phrase. So over the C chord, we're going to play a C triad with the added D. Then over the E minor chord, you can think of the E minor pentatonic shape. We have we're back on D, that's the 5th of D, and then the root of D. So right here, we're going to slide from 12 to 11, 12th on the 4th, back to 11. And again, I think of that D7 arpeggio with the added 4th, that shape. So all that's played out of that arpeggio shape right there. Now we're bending the 15th fret of the first string up a whole step to A. And that's the 3rd of F. So now we're back on that F, C, E minor, D chord progression. And we're going to play G, that's the 5th of C, F. Alright, so the first time through that progression, Jerry didn't play any sort of F. He was just playing this C triad with the added 2nd. But here, on this phrase, you can see that he's still thinking Dorian over this C to E minor change, and then resolves to D Mixolydian, and again he's approaching it from a half step below, so that C sharp up a half step. Then we play the 17th fret of the first string. That's A, so it's the 5th of a D chord. Bend that up a step and a half to C, the flat 7. And he's just nailing that C to G chord change. Alright, let me take it from the second time through the F, C, E minor part. Alright, now that's Jerry Garcia's guitar solo on Morning Dew from Europe 72. Alright, hope you enjoyed this one. I will catch you next time.